So now to wrap this all up, let's add the ability to use the bomb. Now this is going to be a several part process. We need to select a key that will be used for the secondary item. And I think since we're already using V, why don't we just use C, which is right to the left of V, at least on the American styled keyboard. And similar to the V, let's just have this do something else, because we only want to use the bomb if it's not paused. And what we're going to do now is we're going to set the player's is attacking B to true if the player presses C. Now if we go here is attacking, we only have on the animation component an is attacking A, but now let's add an is attacking B and set it to false. And we'll say if player animation component is attacking B is equal to false, so we only want to set it to true if it's already false. Then we set this player animations, or we can just do this, is attacking B equal to true. And then on release, we need to come back down here. We'll add a case for C. We will say player animation component is attacking B is equal to false. And now that we're handling this is attacking B property, let's go into the system file. And let's add this to the render system is attacking B. Let's alter this logic structure as well. So it's going to be or is not should animate and is attacking B. Or better yet, let's group this. Oh. Or is attacking B. And in addition, we're going to need to change how this script or how this logic structure is working. So we've set this up to mostly deal with the sword, but now we need to consider that there's going to be a secondary weapon at play as well. What I'm going to do is I want to collapse this switch statement just so we can look at what we have a little bit easier. And I'm going to wrap this whole thing in an is attacking A. Then else if is attacking B. So we kind of just can separate the concerns a little bit easier. There's some constants within here we could reuse, but for the sake of keeping everything clear and orderly, I'm going to just put it into a completely different logic block. And the first thing I'll do, simply because it's probably the easiest thing for us to do, is let's decrement the bomb value just by 1. Now we can add in logic to discriminate between B weapons later, but for right now, let's just handle the bomb. Let me double this so we can look a little bit higher up. Now let's create the position component for the bomb sprite we'll be adding. So const dummy position component, name, position, value, x, y, width, height, undefined. And where we're going to put the bomb depends upon where the entity is and the direction he's facing. So let's do if, and let's get facing, which I believe we have access to. else? Yes, we do have access to because it's right there. So if facing is equal to up, we'll just write out all the possibilities right now. Down. Else if facing is equal to left. Else if facing is equal to right. And that should be all the possible possibilities that exist. So if it is up, let's take the dummy position value.x, and we'll just set it to x, and a little bit to the right, we'll minus it by 20. And for the y, dummy position component value y is equal to y. Now I want to move it a little bit into link's width. Maybe move it up by 10. Let's take this again for down. And we'll add a link. We'll add the height. And for left, divided by 2. Cool. So we'll see how that works. Then let's make the sprite component. Sprite value should be path link.png, and then src rect, which we already know. It's going to be those values. X, Y with height. And now at the moment, those are the only two components that we will need to create an entity. Create entity. This is not the explosion. This is simply just the sprite of the bomb on the ground. We can add the audio in. So we'll add a new audio. Assets. Audio. Place bomb. And we'll play it. And then we'll set the attacking B equal to false. And later on, we will have an event where the bomb explodes. We'll handle that in a second. I'll just write here, push bomb explosion event. Okay, so I actually need to add entity.registry to create event. And you know what, now that we, oh, let's see what we have now. Refresh it. Select the bomb. I forgot to add a break, so make sure you have a break in your C case. Refresh. And I'm getting an error. It says 404 link PNG not found. Okay. So this needs to be assets link PNG. Okay, I'm pressing C. I see the numbers incrementing, but I do not see the entity being created. I forgot to add the width and height. So why don't we make it 40? Again, I'm just spitballing. Height, or you know what, maybe 45. And let's see how we did. Refresh this. Select it. Let me just kill this guy real quick. Cool, okay. All right, so that's the bomb down. That's up. Okay, I need to move it up and slightly to the left. Let me make this change. Let's do it by 30. That should be good. And then down looked pretty good. Let's see the other directions. They're down. It's a little too far down still. Kill this guy. Move this over. Okay. So down was a little too far down. Maybe just minus 10. Move it over a little bit. Now let's see, left needs to not be so far down. Maybe only by a third of its value. And then to the left a little bit more. And let's see, to the right. To the right needs to go much further, which makes sense. Plus, maybe plus 10. Up. Needs to be moved up more. Left could be moved up as well. You guys feel free to skip ahead if this is a bit boring to you. I'm just getting the values just right. Now that's to the right, and that's almost a little too far. And let's move up by 55. Okay, but that's pretty good. So I'm more concerned now about getting this to explode, and that's going to be a little bit more complicated than all the stuff we've been doing. Or not too much. Ooh, that's pretty good placement. I kind of like that. Let's go back to the code. Let's now go create an animation for the bomb explosion. We currently have an animation for Link picking up the sword. Let's now create one for the bombs exploding. Bomb. I'll call it detonation. And what is this function going to look like? Like, how are we going to handle this? Well, I have a feeling that we're going to want to use the event bus and push the explosion in there, right? We're going to push this function in. Bomb detonation. And what is it that we're going to need? Well, I'm thinking about it, and what I want to do is create a bunch of smoke around this bomb animation that has hitboxes. That's the goal. Because when the bomb explodes, the bomb will burst into smoke, and anything that's within the radius of the explosion will be damaged, except for Link, any enemies I'm speaking about. We can do that by simply having the bomb as an entity be passed, because we need the bomb's position. And we also need to remove the bomb when it's done. And the entity has the registry within it already. So that's actually not needed. So if this is how we're going to handle it, let's pass the event bus in, because I don't believe we're doing that yet. Event bus. Event bus. I could just do that. For the render system, this event bus and if you remember how this typically works, we're going to have a function which is going to be the bomb detonation, and then there's args, which are entity, and we need to actually just get the bomb entity, set it to entity, and then the event time, which will be date now plus, let's make it 1,000 seconds. Speaking of 1,000 seconds, let's change the invulnerability time to just a half a second, because I've been realizing that 1.5 seconds is just a little bit too long for our enemy to not be damaged. And finally, there is one other thing that I want to have in this argument. And the other thing that I'm going to have is an event type. And we're going to just call this bomb. And we're going to see in a minute, this event type is going to be what prevents having multiple bombs on the field. Because I believe in the game, if I remember correctly from the NES, you can't lay multiple bombs at a time. That's just not how it works. So let's assume that we did this correctly, and we can go on to bomb detonation. And within bomb detonation, let's get the bomb entity. I'll just pull it out of the args. And oops, you know what? We should be pulling it out like this. You know what? We can actually just take it like that. So we already have our bomb entity. Entity is the bomb itself. I'll write that down. And let's get the X and Y of the bomb entity. Components, position. And what I want to do is, if I remember correctly, the bomb creates like a cylinder of smoke around the epicenter. For our purposes, I'm going to make it very simple and just do a square. We could probably do some math to determine a perfect circle around the bomb with a specific radius where we could then generate the smoke clouds. But to keep it simple, let's just make it a square around the bomb's epicenter. So let's think about an explosion that's 3 by 3, 3 columns by 3 rows wide and long. So it'll look something like this. With this center being where the bomb was placed. So that's simple. Let's just make a for loop. And there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 entities here that we should make. And for us, we need to be careful about how we displace each smoke cloud in relation to where it is in this structure. So let's create a let x displacement, or let's just do displacement x equals undefined, let displacement y equal to undefined. And for the first 3, we know that it will be above where the bomb is. So if I is less than 3, let's just make the displacement y equal to -50. And that's just a starting value. And actually, instead of undefined, let's just set these to 0. That's probably the best way to do this. If it's equal to 6 or greater, then displacement y is equal to +50. And I don't need to do that. Actually, you know what? Let's just do it like this. There we go. Use that operator. And for x, if I is equal to 0, or 3, I is equal to 6, then we know that it's in this first column. So why don't we displace it by 50 as well? Else if I is equal to 2, I is equal to 5, or I 8, we need to add 50. Because how this is going to work, I'll change what I wrote. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, oops. This is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I hope that illustrates it slightly better for you. Then let's create the dummy position component. Value. X will be equal to X plus displacement X. Y will be equal to Y plus displacement Y. Then we'll set height to 50 and width to 50, just to start. Then const sprite dummy component will be equal to name sprite value equal to path. I think that should just be cloud.png. We may need assets, but we'll see in a bit. And for src rect, we can set it to, and let's look at our cloud.png. If I zoom in. So that's pretty much the first one that we want. We just want to get the first tile. We'll set that to x equals 0, y equals 0, with a width of about, we'll call it 16, and a height of about 16 as well. Also note, we will be creating an animation for this, but we'll get there in 1 minute. I want to next create the dummy hitbox because this will be damaging enemies. Name hitbox, value, owner. If we go into our component just to check on what we're doing with this, link weapon is 3. Let's just use this as a value of 3. Damage, we can also set the damage value to 2. And next, create animation component. And this we're going to need animation, our own bomb animation. Let's create this right underneath in its own variable. So bomb, I'm going to call this bomb animation. And it's going to be similar to the other animation that we have with link. If we scroll up, we can use this as an example. Now with this example, we have multiple directions. It doesn't really accurately reflect what we'll be doing since the bomb is going to look the same. The explosion will look the same in every direction. But let's just copy this for now. And I'm going to make some very crucial changes, and you're going to see that. Animation value. Okay. So first off, let's get rid of the attack. We have right. We can keep that for now. Let's get rid of the attack again. Cool. Once we got rid of all the attacks, we're going to add another property in here. We will be altering our animation system to be handling this property. It's going to be the isStatic property. Set it to true. Add it to the component as well. Animation. This is static is equal to component object is static. And what this will essentially allow us to do is have an animation run in place without needing to concern ourselves with the direction it should be. So we can even take out this value. We won't be needing that. We can set the true, the should animate value to true. And we can take out all of these directions as well. And just have frames. And in here, we're going to define the src rect values. So we'll make this an array. And we're going to set it to the values that are within this cloud.png file. And that first value, as I said before, would be 0, 0 with a width of 16 and a height of 16. Then let's move over a little bit and move x to 16. Keep the same y with a width of 16, height of 16. With our last value being another object, and let me space this out a bit, being x is equal to 32, y is equal to 0, height is 16, while width is 16. The array actually must be the src rect, while the object is here. There we go. And let's add the other values, the other properties that we need to have in the frames property, in the frames object, which is start time. We'll set it to now. Current frame will be 0 because we're going to start from the beginning. Num frames will be 3 because we have 3 frames here. And then we'll set the frame speed rate to be a little bit quicker. Why don't we set it to 5? We can export this as well. Bomb detonation. Cool. So let's go back to... Ooh, I exported the wrong thing. This is bomb animation. There we go. Now we have bomb detonation that we're going back into. And instead of creating this animation component, why don't we just assign it dummy animation component? We could just do object assign and we'll do bomb animation. There we go. And dummy animation component. Kind of weird syntax, I know, but follow along. And now we'll set the current time of the animation. Value current time of animation is equal to date now. And finally, we will create this entity with the registry that's within the original bomb. Create entity. And we will play the sound. So new audio, assets, audio, bomb explosion dot mp3 dot play. And then after all of that, let's get rid of the original bomb. So entity registry, entities to be removed, push entity. Cool. Let's do some checking really quick. I think actually that this, I need to declare dummy animation component before, and then I can assign it. This syntax is weird. Okay, that looks okay. Cloud PNG, it's either that or dot assets. I'm always just a little on cloud.png. I think that maybe dot assets now that I'm looking closer at it. Let's scroll up. Oh, well, this is a mistake. I need to add 50, not subtract 50. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now we need to add this to the proper system, or we need to be able to make this work in the correct system. And that system will be the animation system. So scroll down to your animation system, and we're going to take advantage of this isStatic property right here. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to make this the first if. And we're going to turn this into an else if. So if static, and we can just kind of do a similar logic, and maybe I'll just copy this to get the current frame. So if it is static, that means there is no facing, and therefore we don't actually have a mode. So we can just take that right out on the very first go. And we will, in addition, well, we can actually just also copy these. And we're just going to make a small change. We're going to get rid of the facing mode. Cool, and that looks good. There will be one other property that I do want to add. Oh, and let's not forget to pull it out of animation. There is one more property I would like to add to animation, and we can add it here as this remove on. And this will be component object remove on. So we're going to use this when the bomb explodes. It will continuously show the explosion without removing it. So let's test it out now, and I want to show you what I'm talking about. So if I select it, and I push the bomb, or place the bomb here, do you see how that explosion continues to happen? We need to remove it after a certain frame. And by the way, the hitbox is working as well, which we just saw the enemy die to, so that's good. So in order to do that, we can do remove on, and then in the animations, we can go here, and we can add that here, remove on. 2. This starts at 0, so 2 is the third frame, just to make that clear. And then what we will do is we'll do, and we can pull it out up here, why not? Remove on. So if there is a remove on property after the animation is done, so if remove on and remove on is equal to the current frame, we can just do that right here. Then we will just remove it using the registry. Entities to be removed, push entity. Let's see what we got. Cool, that explosion works, and it destroys the enemy as well. Fantastic. Let's turn on the sound to see how it sounds. I think I have to change my sound to turn this on. Cool, so the bomb makes a sound. There is one issue I do want to fix. If I put down multiple bombs, they're not going to explode, and that's due to the way, well, it'll delay at least, and that's due to the way we're currently handling the sound. So I would like to make a change to our event bus, and it's a very simple change. Before, I just built this to kind of get the event bus started, but what's happening here is that if an event at the front of the queue has a later call time than the event behind it, then this event at the front will actually cause a delay in all of the other events behind it that are able to be called but cannot be reached by the event bus. So instead of just popping off the end of the event bus and calling the event, we were handling this as a priority queue, but now this doesn't really work so well. So I'm going to make a change, and I'm going to just loop through the event bus as a whole. So I'll just comment this all out for the moment, and I'll go let I is equal to 0. And of course, it's going to work very similarly. Oh man, do we hear my music playing? Now, if args.event, or sorry, let's make sure we have an event, which we should, but it's good to wrap things in if statements sometimes. We'll get the arg and the func out of the event, and if args event time is less than or equal to this game time, this game time, that's right. Then call the func, and let's splice out this, or slice it out from the array. Oh, I misspelled time. Let's see how this works for us now. Okay. I'm going to lay a few bombs, and none of them are delayed by the bomb before them. Very nice. Cool, so we're almost done. We just have a few things that I would like to clean up. One of which is the animation for putting down the B item. Currently, we do not have that set up. So let's add is attacking B here, as well as, we may need it here. We'll see how it works. Make sure to pull it out. Also add the logic statement in here. And then if we scroll up, we should set the animation current time to date now. And I actually think we can just remove this. And to make this simple, let's just get rid of the is paused true. We'll keep it to false. And weapons table. Why don't we just set the active B in the initialize function right after the player is created, just to make it easy on us. Change this to bomb. Let's see how that goes. Cool. Okay, now he's doing the animation. The last two things I want to do is, you see that -23, that's not in the right place. And we shouldn't be able to use that many bombs. We should only be able to use one at a time. And for the inventory screen, that's quite easy. We can just switch that around, which I thought I had done that before, but evidently it was not put in the proper place. So let me pull this up again. So it's rupees, bomb. Ah, you know what? Bomb needs to be above keys. That's what the problem is. Okay. 41. And I did see that other little error that we have. Cannot destructure property. Item drop. Okay. Okay, that's fine. We'll fix that too. Save that in the system, and then let's go to item drop. Or sorry, save that in the inventory screen, and then go to item drop right here. Probably should wrap this whole thing in another if statement. If components item drop. That's probably the proper way to wrap this up. Cool, let's see how that looks now. Nice, okay, so it's in the correct spot. And let's go back into system. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we're going to loop through the event bus and make sure that no other event has the same type. So we can simply just do that by going into the render system and here, and is attacking B. So since we're handling the bomb right now, let's see if a bomb is already out. Is bomb out? We can do event bus, which I believe, are we getting the event bus in here? Yes, we are. Okay. Find, set the element, and do element dot. I think we put it in the args. So args type is equal to undefined. Or is it equal to, I think it's equal to bomb, right? Event type, bomb. Okay, and I need to change that to event type, not type. Yeah, event type. So if is bomb out is equal to undefined, then we do this whole block of code. Can pretty much just, we can just start from here, or from right here even. Actually, cool. Now we should only be able to drop one bomb at a time. Yep, I can only do one bomb at a time. Very good. And also, we should not be able to go below 5 or below 0 bombs. And for this final part of our game, we want to go through the inventory and make sure that whatever is set to 0 is not the active B weapon. If it is, then we should remove it. And we can just do this very easily right in our update function. So why don't we get the inventory active B from this player.components inventory. And if there is an active B, then we should launch this logic. What we're going to do is if active B name is equal to bomb and inventory bomb is less than or equal to 0, we'll set the active B to undefined. Oh, seems like we can still use it. And then let's take this, and we won't allow the player to have to attack if they do not have a weapon on them. Const active B, else if active B. Cool. And I cannot use the weapon again. Fantastic, okay. Well, it looks like we have everything working. Awesome. I just quickly made some changes to the graphics so it would render a little bit better. I was tired of how it looked. So now that I have fixed the appearance of the inventory and the placement of the swords, let's play around with the AI yet again. And we are going to have multiple AI on the screen interacting with Link, or interacting with the map at least. I had commented it out before while I was doing that cleanup work. So we're going to make a small change to the state, but I currently want to show you what's going on right now. We can just kind of copy and paste this, and we'll have him have another enemy, or not 6, or actually I think 6 is fine for X. Okay, so we see how we have this enemy running towards Link. Now that's normal, we're used to this, but we see this other enemy and he's not moving. And this is because the way we're currently handling the AI is that they all they all have the same state. Because if you remember, if I go into the AI, we are creating objects which are then being used. And each entity needs to have its own state. So before I set it up I set it up like this just to make it easy for us, so we can easily just pass the correct state into the functions. But now I don't want to use objects that are already instantiated. I'm going to export the classes, and we will just instantiate the object when we need it. So in here we have hunt player state. Let's just do new hunt player state, as well as new search state. And in the inventory where it says search state, let's do new search state like this. And if I go to the top, I will no longer have that as an export. And let's just see, make sure I have all of the changing of the states. Okay, let's see what we got. Cool, and now we have these two AIs who are chasing after us. It kind of feels like an actual Zelda game. Cool. And nice. And now it's cool that both of them are working and chasing Link, but it's kind of boring still, right? Because they're just running after Link and there's no change in their state or they're changing their attacks that is very noticeable. Why don't we make one more attack for these guys? Let's create an attack where they shoot rocks out of their mouth, because in the game they do that. They shoot rocks out of their mouth at Link. So if you see right here, I do have the rock on this sprite sheet. So let's use this rock in the attack. And we're going to change right here the search state a little bit. I'm going to get rid of the graph. And, you know, it's something I realized too. The enemy has the graph through the state machine. So I could refactor this and not require the graph to be passed, but we could take care of that another time. So let's go over here, and we're going to create some kind of logic for the decision making. Hunt or shoot. And what I think I want to do is we need to shoot a rock at Link if Link is on the same x-axis or the same y-axis as the enemy. So in order to figure that out, we need to get both the player and the enemy's x and y. So let's do the player, and we'll go enemy state machine dot graph dot player dot components position, because this graph, as you can see, we have the graph here, and then the graph also has the player. And then let's get the enemy x and y. So we'll do y, e, y, x, and we'll do enemy dot, though not state machine. We'll just do components, position. Cool. And let's determine if they are on the same y-axis or on the same x-axis. So I'm going to write a logic structure that has an if statement. So if this, else hunt player, and we'll keep the search, the global search, the global state outside of this logic structure. So anyway, let's figure out if they are first on the y-axis, the same y-axis. So that means that the px and ex, the difference will not be that great. We can make it within 50 or so. I think that's a fine number. And we only want to shoot a rock if they're a certain distance away. So why don't we do, we'll make it greater than 300. That sounds right to me. Or if they're on the same x-axis, py minus ey, if that's less than 50. And again, we can do px minus ex greater than 300. Fantastic. So then we'll just do enemy state machine, change, not global, change normal state, new shoot rock state. And we're going to create this right now. So class, and I can export this, although we will just be using this in here. Player state, or no, shoot rock state. Let's do the 3 E's, so enter, execute, exit, pass the enemy. And now again, we're going to need to determine whether it was the same y or the same x. We kind of already did this up here. Now, the one thing that our state machine and our states lack is the ability to communicate information between states, like a messenger function or a messenger functionality. Now, there are ways to program this into the state machines in the state, but to keep it simple, and we don't need to do that quite yet, I think I'm going to just keep this video simple and just recalculate the information. So we can do const x px and then y py enemy, and we can really actually let's just copy that. And we're going to need to create a few components when the enemy does shoot the rock. The first thing that we're going to need is a sprite component, of course. Dummy sprite component. Sprites. The value. And the path will be assets link.png. And the src rect is going to be 390 because the bomb is directly to the left of it, and that was 360. So this will be 390 with a value of 224. We'll set the width and the height to 18. So we have that. And then we're going to need a movement component because the bomb will, or the rock I should say, will be moving across the screen. So movement value, and there will be a velocity, but we'll just set the velocity to 0 at the moment. And then we will also have a hitbox. Name is hitbox. Value is owner 4 because this is an enemy's attack with just damage of 1 we can do. That's fine. And finally, we will have dummy position component. Name position with a value of x equals ex, y equals ey, width 50, height 50. And we will be altering this x and y value, but we need to first feed in the enemy's x and y to get it properly positioned on the screen. So now let's determine if it is the same y-axis. So if math absolute px minus ex is less than 50 and math absolute py minus ey is greater than 300, then it's the same y-axis. Okay, and we'll just do an else. It's the same x-axis because we already know it got into this state for one of those two reasons. So we definitely know a rock should be shot right now. And now let's determine what side Link is on relative to the enemy. So if py is greater than ey, that means the player is below the player. I mean, the player is below the enemy. Link is on the bottom. So we can do enemy.components animation. And it would be facing. We'll set it to down just to make sure that the enemy is facing in the correct direction. Let's add the velocity, the proper velocity, dummy movement component value vy. We'll just set this to 5 so it's going quickly. And then let's alter the x value because when we make the rock appear, we want it to look like it's coming out of the enemy's mouth. So let's move it about 15% of the tile size into the middle of the sprite. And then for the y value, we'll just increase it by 30 to make sure that it does come out of the bottom of the sprite. Else, Link is on the top. So enemy components, animation, facing up, like that. And then dummy movement component value vy will be -5. And then dummy position component dot value dot x. Again, same as before. The dummy position component value dot y, we will just decrement that by 30. Cool. Now we have to do some logic to determine maybe Link is on the left or the right side of the enemy. Let's figure that out. So we can do px if it's greater than ex. So if the player's x is greater than the enemy's x, that must mean that the player is to the right. So enemy components, animation, facing right. Dummy movement component, value vx, we want to set that to 5 to make it go to the right. And the dummy position component dot value dot x. Oh, I missed that dot. Dummy position component dot value dot x. Yeah, we got that. We will increment it by just half the size of the tile. Again, dummy position component value dot y. We'll just increase that by 10. Else the player is to, I'll change it to Link. Link is to the left. Fantastic. Enemy components, animation, facing left, dummy movement component dot value dot vx, set that to -5, dummy position component dot value dot x, we'll decrement that by 15, dummy position component value dot y, we'll increase it by 10, and we'll see. Cool, and we'll see how that works in a bit. Then let's make sure that the entity is created. Create entity. We'll pass in these dummy components. And after we shoot it, why don't we just change the state back to new hunt player state. Cool. And then I do realize that we actually do need to make a small change to our system.js. So this is going to be one of the few times where we have something moving, but we don't have an animation for it. The rock's not going to be like spinning in the air. That's not part of this game, although in other games it very well could be. So I do know our movement system. I do realize that this is going to error, so why don't we just add a check. Cool, and now let's see what we have. Tile size is not defined. We need to export or import it from index.js. Import tile size from index.js. Oh, all right, so that's working. Let's see about to the right. Oh yeah, it's working to the right. Let's check to the left. Oh, and they killed me. Okay, give it a minute. I have to lure them down here in order to check properly. They're like kind of scary good at chasing me, huh? Oh, very good. And so the top also works fantastic. Now to spice up our game just a little bit more, why don't we add a different skin to our enemy so we can have the red Octorok and the blue Octorok. Let's go into the animation.js file. And why don't we go to the red Octorok? It'll be quite similar. The only real thing we need to do is to change the red to blue and then move over the sprite. If we remember, for the enemies, the blue Octoroks are just to the right of the red Octorok. So we need to move the x-axis values. And the value that we need to move it over by is just 120. And to keep it really easy, I'll just do a plus 120 to each of the x's. So right here, and we need to do it for each frame as well. Cool. Now we could have some kind of fancy way to determine if we want to make it a red or a blue Octorok. But why don't we just go into index.js and we go to enemy. And here, when we pass in red Octorok, let's just ask if it is an even number, make it red. And if it's so odd, we'll just make it blue. And let's not forget to export our guy. Oh, not like that. There we go. Now let's go into our screen and let's add a bunch of enemies to it. And also delete this so it's a little bit more clean. Yeah, we'll make this one bomb. Can make that one rupee. Okay. Let's see what we have. Oh, I do see the blue, but they're on top of each other. Let's make sure we remember to change the values up. Cool. And as we see, ooh, we got some pretty aggressive enemies here. Oh. As we can tell, we have a few different enemies. Fantastic. And that will be concluding this video on how to code The Legend of Zelda from scratch. Thanks for staying with me and getting through this whole thing. You should feel very accomplished and proud of yourself that you were able to get through such a long video. I'm sure you learned a lot. I hope I was a good teacher, and I hope you enjoyed learning from me. And if you did enjoy learning from me, I do ask that you please like, maybe comment, but definitely subscribe and put the notification bell on, because it will help me a lot to make this channel bigger and to also make content like this in the future. If this is something you want to see me do more of, or if you would like me to continue this specific project, please let me know down in the comments. I'd be very interested to hear what you're interested in learning. Whether it's web development or game development or something else, please let me know. I hope to hear from you soon. Take care and have a good day.